Hello all and welcome to our Crochet Designs. My name is Mary and in today's tutorial, guess what we are doing? Yes, we are doing the border rows of our Call the Midwife Blanket. I'm very excited actually, and to the extent where I'm thinking I just want to do a little, victory dance at the end of this. And I just wanted to let everyone know that the border came along gorgeously. Now, I've done a whole lot of rise and fall in my little peaks and my little, whatever you want to call them, little shell stitch there on purpose to give it a different look, a little bit of a kick, if you will. I think you can call it a kick. And also, if you had any issues, you could actually have fudged your shells so that you could have made it to the end of the row, but you shouldn't have to. It should all add up if you've done the 15 sets like I have. All right, I'm not going to talk too much because this this tutorial goes for a long time, but I will tell you, you will need your scissors. Let me fold this up properly. I don't want to crease it all up. I just got it all nice and straight. You will need your, I still creased it, hello. Try that again. You will need your scissors, you will need your sewing weaving needle, you will need your stitch markers. You may need about 7, between 5, 7, maybe 8. Depends on how you use them. If you use them like I did, you probably need between 5 and 7, that kind of thing. You will need your 4mm hook or whatever hook you used to create your Call the Midwife blanket from the beginning. Quick heads up, yours truly did actually play with colour here. I'll give you a nice close-up so you can have a look. I played with colour here. I changed the colours to suit me. Yes, I did. So I had a lot of weaving in ends. It's not necessary for you to play with the colour. It is not necessary, guys. I would suggest just going right ahead. I wanted to show you a section. There it is. Just that little section there. Bit of a kick in the middle of your blanket on all 4 sides of your blanket. Right in the middle, you'll have that tiny little spot there. But I just wanted to let you know that I did mess around with colour, and that was my prerogative. Oh, a little bit of fluff there. That was my prerogative to mess around with colour. It's not necessary for you to do that. If you just keep going in the round, going over and over and over again, you won't have a problem. I believe the border was not very much. You're probably looking at maybe 100 grams. I can't even remember, to be honest with you. I do know I have stacks of yarn left. I have one full skein and then a whole lot of bibs and bobs because I actually ripped apart 2 skeins to get the colour combinations that I wanted. So you'll have plenty left, and we may actually do something on the channel with that leftover yarn in the future. So hold on to it. If you ordered 800 grams like I did, hold on to it because we will be doing something gorgeous on the channel in the future. But in the meantime, guys, I'm not going to talk anymore. I don't want this to go forever, which it always does. I'm going to let you get started creating your gorgeous border of your Call the Midwife blanket. Good luck, guys. Alrighty, guys, where I left you off in part 1 was adding all your sets until you got to your 15th set. Now, this is my 15th set. I've completed it. And the very last row is the chain 1 space row. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to turn our work again and work along that chain space row. Now, if you've cut your yarn, just re-add another thread in there and join us here in a moment, all right? But for the rest of us, we are going to chain 1, 2, 3. Add your stitch marker, like so. And turn your work. Okay. Oh, that was a bit difficult for me there. The blanket is too big and the frame is too close. All right. So now from here, let's get a nice close up so you can see. From here, normally we chain 1 and we jump into our next double crochet. We're not going to do that. We're going to pop a double crochet in this space. If you are new, you can pop it around the whole thing like so. But for the rest of us whom have been working in the stitches all along, continue to do that. Pop it straight in your stitch, making sure you're getting into the whole stitch. Of course, it's going to be tight, isn't it? Oh, here we go. Here we go. 1 double crochet in there. All right. Now, normally we would be putting 2 all the way across. Okay. And we are. We're going to put 1 in there one in the double crochet, one in the stitch, one in the double crochet, and off you go. So your next one needs to go straight into the stitch like so. And your next one goes into your space. If you are new, regulars, or more avid crocheters can go into the chains. A little bit awkward for me because I've done mine really tight. In there like so. And one in the double crochet and one in your space. Again, if you are new in the space, the regulars, just get right into that tight stitch right there. And mine are extra tight, guys, this one. I rushed this row, so they're extra tight. So you don't have to sit here and watch me do it. What I want you to do is just do your double crochet in every stitch and every space. Get to that stitch marker at the end of the row and wait for me there. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this section here. Now I asked you to get to the space with the stitch marker in it, which is the very last space. Now I've done my last double crochet, a little bit more, let's try that, there. My last double crochet in the double crochet stitch. Ordinarily on the normal rows we would have chained one, skipped that first chain and did a double crochet in there. That's what we would have done. But because of that, we actually have to put a double crochet in that chain and a double crochet in the last chain. All right, so we're double crocheting in that very tight chain there and then we double crochet in the very last chain of that row or that side. Now we're going to work along that side, so you're going to work in the next 2 stitches. So turning your work, not chaining anything, just turning your work, okay? And you are doing, oh, let's take that stitch marker out first. And you are doing a double crochet in that very first stitch you see there, and then one into the next. All right, so in other words, you are making sure you've got 4 double crochets in every corner, 2 in the top and 2 on the side. Okay, so 1 in there. Remember, if you are new, you're welcome to just do your double crochet around your work, but I'm going to pop mine in the stitches. A little bit tricky, 1. And when I finish this one, I'm going to change yarns because I'm at the end of mine here. So I'm going to do my second one there. All right, just complete your stitch. Yours truly is going to complete it with a new thread. Give me one moment. Like so. All right, so from here, we've got 2 there and 2 on the side, which is what we want. All right, from here we're going to put 2 double crochets into every space of every row we did. All right, 2 in that space, 2 in that space, 2 in that space, 2 in that space, and so on. Okay, a little bit tricky this round if you are doing your stitches like me, because I'm popping mine in each chain and it's going to be extremely tight. Okay, but if you are just going around your posts or your stitches there, that would be a lot easier for you. Okay, but yours truly, sucker for punishment, is going to go into each stitch of that section. So there's your first stitch, and I knew it would be tight. I just knew it, and I want to get it into the right stitch, which is right there. There it is, with 1 double crochet. All right, 1. And then 1 right into the next stitch, which is even tighter, and there we go. Let's try that again. 2. Okay, now we've got the next row. 1 and 2. Now, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm not going to crochet over my tails. We're going to sew those in, only because I want you to see what I'm doing here. I don't want you to miss out just because of the tails. All right, so yarn over, we're going to go into the next row and do 2 into that row. There's 1, and right next to it there is 2. All right, and then once again there's your next row. You're going to put 1 into the first stitch. Oh, it's not too tight actually, they're not bad, and 1 into the next. Some of them are tighter, but most of them are okay. All right, I'm not going to let you sit here and watch me do this, okay, because it's going to take me forever. I know it, because everything's so tight. So do just that. 2 into every row that you did, you're popping 2 double crochets, whether you're going around the stitches or whether you're going through them. Okay, so go ahead and do that all the way across. I'm going to pop a stitch marker right onto the very next corner section. So actually just pop your stitch marker in that last space, get to the one for it, do your 2 into there and wait for me there. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of this side. Okay, now, oh, it's getting big now. The blanket's hard for me to hold on the table. All right, so I asked you to get to this stitch marker space. It's the very last space you were supposed to get to. And I have actually put my 2 double crochets in that row, 2 in that row, but not in our final space. So what you're going to do, once again, you can go around. You know what, I would actually suggest going around, because this is like so sore on my hands. I would suggest going around the posts rather than in the stitches. But anyway, so I'm going to go into stitches because that's the way I've started. So I'm putting 1 double crochet in the first stitch. Oh, that didn't even go in the stitch, did it? Let's take that undone. It went on the side. Okay, we want it to go in the stitch. So 1 in that first stitch, which is right there. I don't know if you can see that. Yes. 1 in the second stitch, right there. All right. So you've got 2 in that section. Now we have to turn our work, and we still need to put 2 here. All right. So you should have 1 in the chain. Oops, like so. And 1 in that little tight stitch in there. Again, go around the post, guys. Don't do what I'm doing. Go around the posts, really. All right, so 2 there, 2 there. And now it's 1 in your double crochet, like so. 1 in that chain stitch, your very first chain stitch, row. 1 in the double crochet, a little bit tight mine, sorry guys. 1 in the chain stitch, I think you're getting this picture now. 1 in the double crochet, and 1 in your chain stitch. I'm going to stop there because my thread is pulling, as it does. Oh dear, it's all knotted up, sorry. But there you go guys, that's what I want you to do. Do that all the way across your side. Get to here. This is our initial starting row. Now I've got a lot of threads because I decided to do another row of the green. Let's try blue, Mary. Let's try blue, Duffer. All right, pop your stitch marker in your last space on this side only. So we are working along the side. Bit tricky because that's already blue. But working along the side, get to your very next corner and wait for me there. Alrighty guys, here we are along this side, right to the very end. Let's get a nice little close-up for you. Alright, so what we have now, let's take the stitch marker out so you can see what's going on. Now, I've got a lot of threads here guys, and I do apologise in advance for that because I mucked around with some colour change earlier. But still, all you need to remember is putting 2 double crochets on this section here, turning and putting 2 double crochets there. Alright, so we're going to start off with the first one. If you have done your double crochet there, okay, straight into your very next chain with a double crochet, 1. Into the second chain with a double crochet, 2. Again, you can go around it, which I advise, I really advise. Okay, turning your work, oops, here we go, straight into the very next stitch with 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, and the second double crochet goes into your next stitch, which is in there somewhere nice and tight. No, I've just split the yarn. Hello, let's not do that. Let's go back again. Goes in that stitch right there. So you actually have 2 there and 2 on the side. All right. It doesn't look it, but it is. It's just that all my threads are hanging off there and it's confusing you. So the blue is done. Now we're going to jump straight into that next section there. And again, what we're going to do is put 2 in there, or put 2, 1 in each stitch, which is If I can find it, it's in there. There it is. There's 1 and 2. And then straight into your next row of stitches with 1 and 2. 2, I said. Here we go. No? Yes? It worked. Good. Okay, so 2 in there, 2 in there, and 2 into your very next space. All right, I think you're getting the picture. Okay, I'm not going to let you watch me do this side, definitely not this side. So what I need you to do is 2 in each row you see. You're putting 2 double crochets in each, 2 double crochets in each. Get to the very, oh gosh, these threads. Get to the very next corner. Oops, let me get a close up here for you. Get to the end of this section, and right before it is that space right there, and it's actually the end of the row. So what I want you to do is just do that. Crochet all along this side, get to our final corner, and I'll show you what you're going to do next. Alrighty guys, I asked you to get to our final corner, and let's get a little bit of a close-up for you. Oh, so too close, I'm sorry. Here we go. All right, where I am at the moment is our second last row of the blanket. Then you've got your last row, and this is the row we're doing now, so don't include this, okay? But in this space where we have our first stitch marker, all you have to remember is to put 2 double crochets. So take that stitch marker out. Have you got your 2 double crochets in this last row here? If not, pop them in now. And then we pop a double crochet into whatever first stitch you can get to, or around the stitches. I so suggest going around the stitches, guys. This really, it was like, you know, tired me out. And 1 into the next stitch, like so. And from here, you're going to slip stitch into the top of that stitch marker, or into the very top chain of your chain 3 from the previous round. So slip stitching, you know, pull that loop through like so, and pull it through to the loop on your hook. Take your stitch marker out for a minute. All right, so now what you have is your 4 double crochets. Well, the chain 3 will act as a double crochet in this section here. And we are in the 4th double crochet. We're going to start by making a V-stitch right here on top of this stitch. And a V-stitch is chain 1, 2 and 3. Grab your stitch marker, like so, and pop it in the top of that stitch there. Okay, now you're going to chain another 1, and that's the chain in the middle of your V-stitch. Okay, and in that same stitch that you are in, you're going to pop a double crochet, and that's the start of your V-stitch, the very first V-stitch you've done. All right, and from here you're going to skip 1 only for now, jump into the next one with a V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet. And that's your V-stitch. That's the stitch you're going to be using in the round on this blanket, or in the square. I'm sorry, rectangle. All right, now you're going to skip 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and into your 3rd one, you're going to put a V-stitch, double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet. Then you're going to do exactly the same thing all the way across the row. Skip 1, 2, and in your 3rd one, V-stitch. Okay? All right. I'm not going to let you sit here and watch me do that. Plus, I want to change to my white, but I want it to be over here. So when you come back in the round, you're going to find that will be a white stitch. I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to confuse you. But for now, all you're doing is V-stitching all the way across. Now, you're going to need your stitch markers for this round, and I've already placed a stitch marker in the first one for you, but I'll show you exactly where you need to be. This is your first corner where you've got your 4 double crochets, yes? Okay. What I want you to do is pop a stitch marker 2 stitches away from that. Just get to, say, your last 4 or 5 stitches. All right, so what I want you to do is V-stitching all the way across, all the way. Get to that stitch marker right there, and I will meet you up here in a moment. Alrighty guys, I asked you to V-stitch it all the way across, and as you can tell I changed to my white. Okay, as I mentioned in the promo, I wanted to make my blanket look a little interesting. Now I'm going to take off that stitch marker. It doesn't really affect us anyway right now. Okay, so I'm pretty close to the end of our row. Skip 1, 2 and jump into your third one with your V. We're not in the corner yet. 1, 2 and jump into your third one with a V. Alright, now let me show you the corner once we do this stitch and you'll know what I mean. Okay, your very next stitch is not in the corner yet. Okay, so we're not worried about that yet. But then you've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. They are your corner stitches, alright? So from here, you are going to skip 1 and do a V-stitch in your second one, because this is our corner section. 1, chain 1 and 1 in there. And from here you are chaining 1, skipping the next stitch, going right into your next stitch with a V-stitch. 1, chain 1 and your second double crochet. And that is what you have right now. But before we continue, this is where all your stitch markers are going to come in handy. You will need them for these rounds. Pop your stitch marker right flat bang in that corner of that chain 1 that we did right there. It's going to make things a lot easier in the next round. So whenever I tell you to pop a stitch marker, make sure it's in there for you. It just helps you out a little bit. From here, we're going to skip 1, go straight into the next stitch with a V. 1, chain 1 and your second one right there. So far, that's what you should have. 2 in your corners and 1 and 2 on the sides. Now you're jumping into your normal V's where you are skipping 2 and doing 1 in your third. So 1, 2 and 1 into the third. And there's your V right there. Okay, so skip 1, 2, jump into your third with your V. 1, 2, jump into the third with a V. I don't think I need to show you how to do this. If you want to remember, this is how I remembered. 1, 2, 3, V. 1, 2, 3 and the V. 1, 2, 3 and the V. That was the way it helped me to remember. You don't have to. It was just something that, a little bit of a tip there. All right, so you're going to V-stitch it all the way across, very big row this, until you get to the very next corner. Now I've popped a stitch marker in there. I don't know, there's your corner stitches 4. I popped it in, not the one before the 4, but the one before that, roughly. But you know, just give or take 3 or 4 stitches and I'll help you out when you get to the corner anyways. So get to that stitch marker with your V-stitches and I shall meet you up here in a moment. Alrighty guys, how did you go? Check that out. We're right at the end of, this was a very long row. It didn't take too long because the V-stitch is relatively quick in my experience. But anyway, so we're roughly at the end of the row. I'm just going to take that stitch marker out and let me show you exactly where we are. These are your 4 double crochets. All right, so we are maybe 3 or 4 stitches away, or even you can check down here, the rows down here, that might help you. Okay, 1, 2 and 3 in that first one right there with a V-stitch. And there you go. All right, so now we're going to skip our first stitch in the corner, go into the second stitch with a V-stitch. Chain 1, V-stitch. Then we're going to chain 1. Skip 1, go right into your next stitch with your V-stitch. Chain 1 and a V-stitch. And stop what you're doing, grab a stitch marker. That is the corner of your piece on this side. All right, then you're going to skip just 1, go into your next with a V-stitch. 1, that's coming out of the corner. Okay, 1 to get into the corner, 1 to come out of the corner, and then you are just doing your normal 1, 2, 3, V. Chain 1, double crochet, again, 1, 2, 3, V. All right, that's how I remember it. Oh, it's a silly way of remembering it, but it works. Well, no, it's not silly, it works. 1, 2, 3, V. Works for me. Okay, pull that loop up. I'm not going to let you sit here and watch me do it. Plus, I do need to grab some more white. So there you go. All right, so that, my dears, is that. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we are no longer turning our work. You probably noticed this already. We're no longer turning our work. When we slip stitch to join, we're just going to keep going in the round. That tells you that this is going to be the right side of your work. Oh, once you've done all your V's all the way across this side, get to your next corner with stitch marker, and I'll meet you there in a moment. Alrighty guys, how did you go? How did you go? How did you go? I'm sorry, am I singing? I do apologise. All right, well, let's get on with it. Okay, so we're roughly around the end of the row. Remember, there's your four double crochet stitches there. Okay, and we are pretty much a stitch before. So now we're going to skip that stitch, jump into your next stitch with a double crochet, well, V-stitch really. 1, and there's your V. Yes, chain 1, skip that stitch, go into your next with a V-stitch, chain 1, V, and then you're going to grab your stitch marker, pop it in that stitch right there. Remember that space in between your two V's, yeah? And then skip 1 and into the next stitch to get out of your corner, but making your V, yes. Now, turn it to the side. You're doing your normal 1, 2, 3, V. 1, chain 1, and 2. 1, 2, 3, V. 1, chain 1, and V. All right, that's that. All right, so what you have now is your 3 corners, all with stitch markers in the middle of them. All right, now this side doesn't have a stitch marker in the middle because it's the end of the row, and it will eventually. Well, it won't, because once we join it, we'll know exactly where we are. All right, so your job now, I'll just avoid all these ends, is to V-stitch all the way across. When you get to the end of this row, once we join it, that's when we'll start weaving in these ends. Now, if you've already weaved in your ends, that's okay. All right, there's no problems there. The only reason I'm holding out is because if there's a mistake in this row here, we need to take this row undone to fix it. But if you didn't want to take the row undone, you can still fudge your V's. If you get to this section here and that's supposed to be a chain 1 there, and then your next V will be in there, right? And then there's space there and a V will land right there. We'll start that off right there. If by any chance you do not land on that stitch and you land on a stitch before, just skip the 2 and do your V like normal. All right, I'm hoping this makes sense. You can fudge this round, but after this round it's going to be hard to fudge. Otherwise, I left my stitches available because if I make a mistake, I take this row undone, okay? Now, once I've completed this row, that's when I will be weaving in all these side ends right here. There's heaps of them, all right? But in the meantime, don't worry about the ends. This is a big row, or a big side, I should say. Worry about going all the way along here with your V's. Get to that stitch marker right there, or roughly around there, and I'll meet you up here once you're done. Alrighty guys, here we are at the end of, we're actually at the end of the row, which is very, very good indeed, because those last 2 rows were the hardest rows of this tutorial. Trust me, the rest will be easy. Believe me. Alright, here we go. Now, we are pretty close to the corner there. The corner has your 1, 2 stitches left, and then you've got that stitch marker there. So you go 1, 2, and in that stitch marker, again, if you did not marry up, get as close as you can. 1, 2, 3, we're popping our last V-stitch there before the corner. Don't lose your stitch. And there you go. Okay, you should have ended up with your 1, 2, and your third one there, but don't stress if you didn't. Just skip one, go into your next one with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and this is where you are doing your chain 1 for the corner, and then you're slip stitching in the top of that stitch marker. Now, if you remember before, I said I was going to change my yarn to white, which I did. Just pull the loop through like normal. That is your corner right there. All right, we're going to take out that stitch marker. You don't need it there anymore. And we're going to slip stitch right into the center of your next V-stitch. So pop your hook in, pull a loop through, pull it through the loop on your hook. Grab your stitch marker first and pop it just in that chain 1 space. That is the corner that you're going to get to at the end of the row. So you have to do a corner before you continue. All right. So here you are, chain 1, 2, and 3. Grab another stitch marker, preferably make it a different color so it doesn't confuse you. Doesn't matter if you didn't, it's okay. All you have to remember at the end of the row when you come back around is the first stitch marker you come to is your corner, okay? All right, so you've got the 3. Now you need to chain 1 more because this is a V-stitch. Pop your V-stitch in there, like so. Guess what? This is an easy row. You are just jumping into every V-stitch with a V-stitch. Chain 1, V. You don't have to count anymore. Jump straight into your V. Chain 1, V. Yeah? Well, I'm saying V. Chain 1, double crochet. Jump into the next V. Double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. That's what I meant. Sorry, guys. Right into the next V with a double crochet, chain 1 and a double crochet or a V. And what is that little flippy thing on my work there? I don't even know what that word was. Kind of a word I made up all on my own. Okay, so what I want you to do, it's very basic this row, super duper easy, you can't go wrong. V-stitch it, every V-stitch all the way along. Get to your first corner. Oh, that's right, we've got stitch markers in there. Get to that very first stitch marker and I'll show you what you can do in this corner right here. Alrighty guys, how did you go? Pretty cool, huh? Pretty coolio. I love this row, it was very easy. Oh, so much easier than the last 2 rows, yeah? Alright, so I have a V-stitch right before my little stitch marker corner. So I'm going to pop my V-stitch in that V-stitch like normal. Alright, so in your corner you're going to pop a V-stitch, 1, chain 1, and another one. So there's your V. Then you're going to chain 1 and pop another V-stitch in the same space. 1, chain 1, and finish off your V. Now, here's where it can get tricky because you have a lot of chain 1s there. So what I want you to do is your last V that you did there and your V that you did there. Okay, those are the V-stitches. Grab your stitch marker and pop it in between those V-stitches. Right there. Okay, so when we come around, we'll know exactly what we need to do, and we will know that that is the corner because that's a V-stitch before. That's your first V-stitch, then you popped your chain 1, and then you did a second V-stitch. Now, I know that each V-stitch has a chain 1 in the middle, so it's going to be confusing. So make sure you pop stitch markers in the middle of those 2 V-stitches that you did in the center. I hope that made sense, yeah? Anyway, you know what you need to do now. 2 super duper easy. All you're doing is jumping straight into your next V-stitch with, you guessed it, another V-stitch. And another one right into the next. Super duper easy. Yeah, yeah, and yeah. Chain 1. What? You're saying what? Let's have a look at this row. How big is this row? It's one of the big ones. So I'm not going to let you sit here and watch me do this. You weren't going to anyway. So you're going to V-stitch all the way across, get to your very next corner and I'll meet you up there and then we'll have some instructions. Alrighty guys, here we go, right to the end of this side, huge side. Now the blanket is massive, so each side takes a little longer to get through. So there you go. You don't see that. It looks like a few seconds for you guys, but it does take a while to get through. Alright, so there's my stitch marker. I still haven't completed my last V, so I'm going to complete that V right there, finish it off. Okay. And there we are, right flat bang in the middle of that corner. So what did we do before? We did one V-stitch, one, chain one, in there. And then we chained one. And then we did a second V-stitch in the same space. One, chain one, and finish off your V. And guess what you're going to do? You're going to take out that stitch marker. Right, get your two V's, that V and that V, separate them and pop your stitch marker flat bang right in the middle. Yep. All right, I think you're getting the picture on the corners now. You've done two corners, so I think you're getting that picture. Jump straight into your next V with a V. Okay, and V into the next V. And V into the next, and so on and so forth, and etc. and the rest of it. Hello, that's a lot of words for one thing. All right, so there you go, guys. You have done two corners. You've done the one corner and you've done your second corner. So guess what you're going to do? This is the easy part. All you need to do is V-stitch all the way across. Do your corner. If you can't remember it, go back and check what we did here. Then V-stitch it all the way across there. Yes, and get to just before your stitch marker, okay, or just at that stitch marker, and wait for me there because that's where we need to join in at the end of the row, okay? So go ahead and do your V-stitches all the way across here. Don't forget to do your corner, and I'll meet you back here in a moment. Alrighty guys, how did you go? It should be right at the end of our row. Very exciting. I tell you what, I am loving the V-stitch. It's always been a favourite stitch of mine, always will, and that's the end of that. Sorry, bit of a trivia there. Yarn over your hook. Now, before the stitch marker, we're going to complete our V-stitch. We still have one there, or I do anyway. So complete your V-stitch. Now, when you come back to me in the next round, I would have changed colour to this one right here. It's a bit more of a grey look, okay? But for now, just to show you what I'm doing, I'm going to stick with the same colour. We still have to complete this corner before joining our work, okay? And in this corner, you need to put one V-stitch, which is the same as all the other corners. So do your V-stitch. Yes. And then let's take the stitch marker out because it's only confusing us. Yeah. And then you chain one and you do another V-stitch in the corner. One. Now, before you join, just separate your V's, your two V-stitches that you just did, and pop the stitch marker back in there so you don't get confused, all right? And then all you're doing here is slip stitching. I think I've split the stitch here, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay, all we're doing is slip stitching into the top of that chain right there, pull a loop through, pull it through to the loop you are in. And from here, you're going to slip stitch into the space, pull a loop through, pull it through to the loop you're in, chain 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to grab another stitch marker because it's fairly white. Okay, oh, this is fluoro, look at that. How cool is that one, yeah? Chain 1 again, because that's your V, okay? And I'm popping a double crochet in the same space that you were in without losing your stitch. All right. And guess what? V-stitch right into the next V-stitch, chain 1 and V. Yes, completing your V-stitch going into the next complete your V, and I'm not going to show you the rest because you know the rest, guys. You know the rest. All right. But if you wanted to have a quick look at what you had there, there is your corner. All right. And there's your other corner right there, and so on and so on. I'm not going to show you them all. We'll be there forever. You know what they look like. You've got them there too. Now, guess what? You're just going to V-stitch it all the way over until you get to that first corner, and I will meet you there in a moment. Alrighty, guys. This is very easy now, yes? Don't you love the V-stitch? Seriously, have I said it before? And I'll say it again. All right, so I'm actually, there's the corner. There's my last V, chain 1, finishing it off there. All right, now in that corner, all we're doing is 1 V. Do your V in the corner, chain 1, like so. Take out your stitch marker for a minute, do your next V right there, chain 1 V. However, you need to pop your stitch marker back in. So these are the 2 V's and that's your center. Let's get close. These are the 2 V's and that's your center V. So you need to pop your stitch marker in the middle of the center V right there so that we can find our center in the next row. Okay, it's very simple once we get the rhythm, but there we go. All right, we're in that V. We're going to jump straight into the next V right there and doing our V. V into your next, and your next. Super duper easy, yeah? Super duper 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 easy. Okay, it really is easy. I love these V-stitch rows. Love, love, love. All right, so that's what you have in this row. Guess what, guys? You don't need me for the rest of this row. Not for the rest of this row, guys, because that is all you need to do in every corner. Okay, so what I want you to do is V-stitch all the way along here, all the way across, big row this one. When you get to that corner stitch, all you're doing is putting a V-stitch in there. And in the middle of that V-stitch, you're popping your stitch marker in there. Okay, got it? Then you are V-stitching all the way across, getting to your next corner, adding 1 V-stitch in the corner, pop your stitch marker in the middle of that V-stitch, V-stitch all the way across until you get to, I got messy ends everywhere, guys, until you get to your very next corner. Don't complete it and wait for me there. All right, go ahead and do that now, and I'll meet you back here in a moment. Alrighty, guys, how did you go? How did you go? Let's get all sing-songy again. Okay, alrighty, let's get on with it. Okay, so what you have here, I still have 1 last V-stitch left before my corner. So I'm going to pop my V-stitch in there like so, chain 1, and the V-stitch goes in there. All right, now there's your corner, and what do we do in that corner? Just 1 V-stitch, chain 1, and the V, finishing off the V. Whenever you hear me say and the V, it's just finishing off that V. Take your stitch marker out, placing it directly into that V that you just completed, and V-stitch right into the very next space. V-stitch space right there, chain 1 and a V, and then you're going to slip stitch over to your stitch marker stitch, which is right there. Pull that loop through and pull it through to the loop on your hook. Take out your, fancy stitch marker. Looks pretty fancy, doesn't it? All right, and slip stitch straight into the space, pull a loop through and pull it through to the loop on your hook. Chain 1, 2, 3, popping your stitch marker in there like so. Chain 1 more, and then your double crochet goes in the same stitch. All right, Now what are you doing? Jumping straight into your next V, chain 1 and doing your V. Straight into the next with a V, chain 1 and doing your V. Now, yours truly will be changing over to this colour right here in a moment. I just did this to show you so I don't confuse you. But what I want you to do, very simple, before you do anything else, I think I should have said this before and I forgot all about it. We're going to get to that corner and work at that corner once we get there. However, yours truly has forgotten. Guess what I've forgotten? All these ends at the back. I said to you before that we would weave them in and we never did. So let me just show you one or two ends because I'm going to give you some instructions at the end of this row. All right, not the end of this row, at the very next corner, I'm going to give you some instructions. Okay, all right, so what you have is, let's not worry about these because these are mine. Don't worry about those. That's me changing. All right, so these ones here. So notice how you've got these two here. This thread belongs to this row and this thread belongs to this row right here. So what you need to do, grabbing whatever thread you've got, your lighter thread, whatever. Now, if you've weaved them in, that's fine. Just wait a moment and I'll give you some instructions. All right. But for now, the rest of us, the way it works is this color literally belongs to that color there. Now, if yours is all the same color, it doesn't matter. You can weave in as long as you want. But mine is only this color. So I'm worried if I start weaving it along here and get into the white, you're going to notice some of the blue. Okay. It's not too much of a worry because that's the way this yarn is made. But I'm going to start splitting the stitches across here. I'm not just going under stitches, I'm splitting stitches. Now turn it around. You can't see the needle. You can see it there, but that's just seeing through the holes, the spaces, right? But you can't see that needle, so popping the yarn through like that. Just want to make sure it's all nice and tug, not too much. And then just going back the other way. In through more stitches, checking the front, no needle, yay, yay, we can keep going. All right, like that. But you know, I'm a big stickler. This is not, that's better. I'm a big stickler at weaving an end. So I'm going back again the other way, finding another section to weave into, making sure you're not unraveling what you just did. I'm going to check the front, no needle, perfect. And away we go. This is the third time, and that's the last time we're weaving that one there in. So grabbing your gorgeous scissors, like so, and let's have a look at the end a little bit first. Just give it a tug and it kind of hides itself in there and it's snug right in. Now, if you found that you're worried that that blue is going to show a little bit over here, you could have gone in this way, back through and then up and down, and that would have been just as good. All right, we're going to try one more. You know what, that blue is going to be difficult to see. So let's try this one here. I reckon this one here will be easier to see. Well, I don't know, maybe the blue, we did use the blue online when we were crocheting, so it probably would have been all right, but doesn't matter. All right, here we go. And this one is going across this. Oh, we're lucky with this one because quite a few rows, so it doesn't really matter how much we go through all the way through. Look how far I went. Woohoo. That looks like it's open there. I'm going to take it out again and just split a few more stitches there. There, and just have a look at the front, making sure you can't see the needle, and you can't, which is very good. And then push that little thread gently through. Just want to give this work a bit of a tug, because if it's pulling too tight, when you weave it back through the other way, it's going to be noticeable. So what we're going to do, it's not a lot of thread, but we're still going to do it. We're going to pick up another stitch, split it. And again, you can't undo this once it's done. Once you start splitting, what's going to happen is if you want to take it undone, you have to cut into the work to get it undone. So making sure everything's correct before splitting any yarn. It's an absolute no-no in crochet. Did you know that? Splitting yarn is a no-no. But you know what? I do it because it's a no-no. How naughty am I? No, I don't do it for that reason. I do it because it does stay in this way. The ends don't come out when they're split, okay? So I'm going to go back one more time, checking the needle. You can't see it. Very good. Oh, I've just split some yarn there myself. Oh, that's no good. Oh, I'll fix it up in a minute. And just pulling it through. And I think 3 times is plenty. So you've got a lot of weaving in ends to do. If you haven't weaved them in yet, go ahead and do that before returning back after this round. How gorgeous does that look? All right, once you weave in all your ends, I want you to continue this row. And what you're doing here is, and get excited guys, you are repeating this row and this row, 2 more rows. Make sure you end up on a row where you've got 1 V-stitch in the center, just to make the last row match. Okay, so that's it guys. That's pretty much all you need to do for the rest of the blanket, right? And I'm going to use 2 rows of this color here, which is that next color right there, and on our last row I'm going to use the blue. This isn't necessary for you to do this. This is just me being pedantic. I've got a lot more ends to weave in than you have as doing it this way, all right? So go ahead, get excited, repeat these last 2 rows, and I shall meet you back here, right here, or roughly around here. It'll be a little bit further over here, when we get to our last row, which will be that single V-stitch in the corner row. And then meet me right back here at the end of your final row, and we'll talk about our final row of the border. Yay! Get excited. Meet you back here in a moment. Alrighty guys, look where we are. We are right at the end here. Like so. And let's bring this up a little bit. Get excited guys, because this means being right here means we've got 1 row left to do before our blanket is complete. Let's pop into that space before the corner. I have to stop talking and just get on with it, hey? Finish off that space there. Now remember what we're doing in our corner. What are we doing? We're just popping a normal V-stitch in that corner. Just 1 for this round. Oh, am I too close? Oh, I am too close for now. Let's bring that out a bit. Take your V-stitch out of there. I'm sorry. Take a stitch. Hello. Take a stitch marker out of that V-stitch. Oh dear. You've got 1 V-stitch. Chain 1. Dear me. Whoops. Before we continue, don't forget to put your stitch marker back in that spot there. That's your corner. You'll need that for the final round. Okay, and then just jump into the space next one and do your V again. Oops, without catching the stitch marker. All right, now we're going to slip stitch for, I was going to say the last time, but it's not, it's the second last time. Pop your hook in that stitch, pull a loop through and pull it through to the loop on your hook, taking out your stitch marker. All right, now guys, this, I'm going to pull up a loop here. You don't need to, you just stay there and wait. This row is going to be a little tricky, okay? But it's not really tricky, okay? It's one way until we get to a center. Then it's literally mirrored the other side, okay? Don't worry about that now. I'll show you that once we have done this one side. And on the other side, which is longer, which is so much longer, we're doing exactly the same, but a little different. That didn't make any sense at all, did it? Let's just get on with it, all right? All right. From here, you need to slip stitch into that space there. Now, I'm not going to because I'm going to change color. I'm just going to pull my loop through and give it a cut. But slip stitch into your next space if you're using the same color. If you're using a different color, then do exactly what I'm doing here. That's it, and that's all you need to do. For those of you who just slip stitched into that space, that's fine, just wait there for us. But for the rest of us who are changing colors, just grab your color, pull your loop through, and of course you're going to pass your tail end forward, not your working end. All right, so chaining 1. Now we're all ready to start together, okay? So in that space, the same space that we are in, we're going to do a single crochet. And a single crochet is pop your hook in the space, pull up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2. just grabbing that tail end, passing it at the back for now. All right, and from here we're going to pop 5 double crochets in your very next V-stitch, and off you go with 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right, popping a single crochet in your next, like so. Popping 3 double crochets in your next. And 3. And a single crochet in your next. All right, from here, I want you to do a repeat section, okay? So what you see from now, you're going to repeat, okay? Yarn over your hook, 9 double crochets in your next V. Whoops, like so. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Single in your next. 7 in your next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Single in your next. 1, and 5 in your next. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Single in your next. And then we're doing 3 in your next. 1, 2, and 3. Single in your next. Hold it there for just one moment. Have a look at what you've done, okay? So that's your 3, 5, 7, 9. And this is where you are at the moment, all right? Single, 9, single, 7, single, 5, single, 3. It's like a countdown, really, okay? And that's pretty much what you're going to do, and I'll tell you for how many times, because halfway through the row we're going to change the pattern a little bit, all right? There's a nice little high-low thing right in the middle. So what you're doing here is, you see this you've just done? I want you to repeat from 9 onwards to that single crochet one more time. That's your single, yep. 9, single, 7, single, 5, single, 3, single. All right, so that's what I want you to do. All of that right here, and meet me back here for pattern change. Alrighty guys, so what you would have had is your 9 single, 7 single, 5 single, 3 single, and your stitch marker was in the space where you popped your last single, yes? Take out your stitch marker, you don't need it there anymore. This is just a small pattern change right in the center of your side, this side here. And you're going to have a similar one in the center of the other sides, and a similar pattern change at the corners of your blanket. Now we didn't actually do the corner here because we started from there. Our corner's way over here. All right, so don't stress about that corner not being done yet. From here, you are going to pop 3 double crochets in your next space. 1, 2, and 3. Now, ordinarily, we would go straight into the next V. In this space here, we're going to put what we call trebles, right in the space. And a treble is yarn over your hook twice. All right, so normally we go once, just do it another time. Okay, so yarn over your hook twice, jump into the space before your V, pull a loop through, 1, 2, 3, 4 loops on your hook. Let's get close for you. Yes, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops, yarn over, pull through 2, 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the last 2. So it's a lot taller than our other stitches. We're going to do 2 more of these. Yarn over your hook twice. In the same space, you are doing 1. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, 2, yarn over, 2, yarn over, 2. Yes, we're going to do it one more time in the same space. 4, yarn over, 2, yarn over, 2, yarn over, 2. And in the next V, you're just putting another 3 double crochets like so. 2 and 3. So what you will have is a different look than the rest of your piece. It doesn't look right now, but at the end of the next 2 sides, you will notice the flow of why that's there. All right. This is just, I like to do a lot of rise and fall with my borders. All right. So from here, the way it works is we're going to kind of go backwards now. All right. So now we're going to, remember before we started this section, you had a single and then you had your 3. So now we're going straight into the next V with a single. And your next V, you're doing 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So we're going backwards, if you will, okay? Single in your next. So 5 double crochets in your next. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Mirror it again, single, mirror it again, 7. Okay, it's super duper easy. Let's move this out of the way because that can kind of make everything go blurry. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Mirror it again, single. From the other side, we jumped into a 9th. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. All right, so what we, oh, no, actually, you know what I'll do? I'll do a single as well. Let's just go straight into the single, and that will help you start your next section. All right, so what you have here now, there's your single, the last single we did. So now you've got to go 3, single, 5, single, 7, single, 9, single. And then stop right there and get ready for the next instruction. All right, I'll meet you there once you're done. Alrighty guys, where you should be is right here. You should be up to your single, and let me get a close up right here. Your single, and you should have a stitch marker in there as well. All right, so take out your stitch marker. Double crochet 3 into your next. So we're starting our set, but it's going to stop towards the end, okay? So 3, single into your next, 5 into your next, 2, 3, 4, and 5, single into your next, and 7 into your next, but that's where it changes. So put your 7 double crochets in there first. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now what we're going to do is in that space there, we are going to do a single crochet like normal. Now you've got your corner. Remember before how we did that rise and fall little thing here? It's exactly what we're going to do here as well. before your corner, there's a space. It's nothing to do with your V-stitch. There's your first V-stitch, your corner is your second, and the next one is there, all right? But just before, let's get a close-up so you can see. Just before your V-stitch, there is a tiny little space there. Before all V-stitches, there's a little space, but you don't use those normally, just for this special section, okay? So yarn over your hook, you're going to put 3 double crochets in that space before your corner. So 1, 2, and 3. All right? Now, in your corner V-stitch, you're going to put those 3 trebles that we put in the middle section of our blanket. So let's take that stitch marker out for now. Now, your trebles, if you remember, are yarn over your hook twice. There's your corner V-stitch. Pop your hook in, pull a loop through, 4 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2. You're going to do it again, 1 and 2, in the space. That's your second one, and your third. And then you're going to move to the side, and before that V-stitch, in that space there, you're going to put 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. And then you're going to continue with a single crochet into your next space. And let me show you what you've done. So what you have is, I'll say 3/4 of a side, not even 3/4, more than 3/4 of a side, because you still have to do that corner. We're going to complete that when we come back around. But it's pretty much going to be the same on the other side. However, the side is a little bit different because we have a lot more rows to deal with, all right? So I have made an adjustment in there to help it look similar and maybe a little bit different with the stitching, okay? So just bear with me. The start will be exactly the same, all right? You ended up with a 7 here. We're going to pop 7 double crochets. See how we put 7 in there? We had 3, 3, 3, and then we did a single crochet, which we've done. And now we're going to do the 7. So there's your 7 double crochets in your next V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. I'm just going to fix up the lighting here, guys. Give me one moment. How's that? That must be better. All right, so you've got your 7. Yes. Here you're going to do a single crochet into your next, 5 into your next, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, single in your next, 3 in your next, 1, 2, 3, and single in your next. And you're wondering, tone of voice has changed. What's going on? All right, so what we're going to do here, let me bring that out. What we're going to do here, guys, is the 9, single, 7, single, 5, single, 3, single, once. And then again, 9, single, 7, single, 5, single, 3, single, twice. One more time. 9, single, 7, single, 5, single, 3, single, pop your stitch marker in there. All right. So what I want you to do is do your 9 all the way down to your 3 and do it 3 times. 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, making sure you're putting your singles in between, and I will meet you back here once you're done so that we can sort out our little middle block. All right, it's a little bit different than the other side, so go ahead and do your 3 sets and I'll meet you back here in a moment. Alrighty guys, if you did your sets 3 times, you would have landed right where our stitch marker is with your single crochet. So your last 3 was there and then your single crochet was there. All right. This is what we're going to do. It's a little different than the other side, all right, because it's a longer side. So we're going to pop 3 double crochets in your first V-stitch. Yes. And then 3 double crochets in your next V-stitch. I did say it was a little different. But before you go into your next V-stitch, there's the space in there that we're going to put our trebles in, our 3 trebles. So off you go, yarn over your hook twice in the space before your V, popping your 3 trebles. 1, 2, and 3. And then in your next V, you're popping 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Then in your next V, you're going to pop another 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. So let me show you what you've done right in the middle. You've done all of that. All right, so now in your very next stitch right here, the V-stitch, you're going to pop your single crochet. And guess what you're doing? You're mirror imaging that side. So now you're going into your next V, pulling all my threads there, going into your next V with your 3 double crochets. 1, 2, and 3. Single in your next. All right, and now we are popping 5 double crochets in your next space. 2, 3, 4, 5. And always in your V-stitches unless you're doing your little fancy stitch there. But for the rest of our pattern, rest of this side, we are doing everything in our V-stitches, single crochet, and then 7 in your next. Yes. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and single in your next, and 9 in your next. I think you're getting the picture here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And single directly into your next. Let's pull up a loop and talk about what we're going to do next. All right, guys, and there you go. You have done 3/4 of this side, okay? You've done all of that. You've done your big rise and fall right in the middle. Where is it? Oh, I've lost it. Hello, there it is. Hello, right in front of my face. You've done your little rise and fall in the middle. And then you've gone directly over here. Now what I want you to do is, there's your 9. So you go your 3, single, 5, single, 7, single, 9, single, 3, single, 5, single, 7, single, 9, single, and I want you to hold it right there. All right, so you are repeating from your 3 until you're single right there. So 3 single, 5 single, 7 single, 9 single. You're repeating it twice, okay? Once and twice. And I'll meet you right back here at the stitch marker. Alrighty guys, there's our sets all done. So you should have landed on a single crochet after your 9th double crochets. So you've got your 9 double crochets, then you've got your single crochet, take out that stitch marker, and you start your set, but you're not going to finish it because we won't land on a 9. All right, so we'll go 3 double crochets in your first V, 1, 2, sorry about the lighting, guys, 3, oh, I should have left it where it was. It was too close. And, oops, and single in your next 5 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Single in your next, 7 in your next, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then right in that space there, you are doing your single crochet. And there's your corner. Just before your corner, in that space in between your 2 V stitches, you're going to put 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. And in that corner, right there, you are going to put your trebles. Take your stitch marker out. All right, so there's your corner now. You're going to start with your trebles, and you want 3 in that corner. 1. Remember, you're doing your yarn over your hook twice for this. 2. And 3. And I'm really struggling to keep the blanket settled, guys. All right, now before you get to your next V-stitch, you are going to put 3 double crochets in the middle, just in between those V-stitches, remember? So 3 double crochets right there. 2 and 3. And from here, you're going to do exactly what you've done here. So you're going to put a single crochet in that next space and 7 double crochets in your next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Lighting is all over the place, guys. The sun is in and out. It's like a yo-yo. All right, guess what you're going to do now? This is the best part. I'm going to pop a time right here. And that time is exactly where, remember we joined our thread there and we started our single crochet on the first side, yeah? You're going back to that time and you're going to repeat all of that. You're going to do your corner like you did on that time. You're going to keep going all the way around. And when you get to this corner right here, or even when you get as close to your next stitch marker, which you will be when you get to right this section here, you would have finished your round, and I'll show you what to do when you get there, all right? So what I want you to do now, go to that time right there, where I start the single crochet. That is exactly your very next stitch, all right? Your very next stitch will be the single crochet where I started, all right? So go ahead to that time there, and I will meet you back here, and we will finish off our blanket with a final slip stitch. Go ahead and do that now, and I'll meet you back here in a moment. Ta-da! Get excited, guys. Why? Because this is the end of the blanket. It sure is. Too excited. Now, I know I get too excited, don't I? I can't help myself. All right, so where we are now, whoops, is right here. All you need to do is pop your hook in your single crochet stitch there. Pull a loop through, pull it through to the loop on your hook, pull up a loop like so, cutting your thread. Oh, the really long thread. And there you go. Ta-da! You are officially done. What? Yes, you are. Check it out. All done. I can't really get it all into the screen. How far out are we? That's it. That's as far out as I can go. But there you go. Check that out. The blanket is huge. Very, very nice. Let me just fold it so you can see it properly. And I gotta say, I love it. I love, love, love. Thank you so much for joining me for the Call the Midwife Blanket. If you are wanting to have the written pattern to this particular Call the Midwife part will be free on my website in a couple of weeks' time, so get excited for that. The written pattern to the actual border of the Call the Midwife Blanket will be a paid pattern on my website as well in a couple of weeks' time. Get excited, guys. But thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share and do all those wonderful things that you guys do for me. And yay, we finished our Call the Midwife Blanket. Ciao for now. Yay.